So your father moves in.
Mm-hmm.
How much did he fight you?
Well, we tricked him. So
Ooh, this is good. Let me get
so
ready.
we so he favored my brother. So I used my brother to trick my father. So told my dad that if he would come to my house, that my brother was going to come pick him up and take him golfing. So my brother came, took my father golfing, and while they were golfing, I went and got everything else I needed to bring down to my dad's house. I had been bringing stuff down periodically, so I had been preparing his room. And when he came back from golfing, he said, "Well, I need to go home and take a shower." And I said, "Well, no, you can take a shower here." He said, "But I don't have any clothes." I said, "You know what? I have clothes upstairs. I got all your clothes upstairs. I had the clothes in the drawer. I had the clothes in the closet. I had everything he needed." And so he took a shower and he talked about it for a couple of days, but then he just kind of settled in.
You just eased into it.
Parenting Up's Caregiving Adventures with comedian Jay Smiles is the intense journey of unexpectedly being fully responsible for my mama. For over a decade, I've been chipping away at the unknown, advocating for her, and pushing Alzheimer's awareness on anyone and anything with a heartbeat. Spoiler alert, this shit is heavy. That's why I started doing comedy, so be ready for the jokes. Caregiver newbies, OGs, and village members just willing to prop up a caregiver, you are in the right place.
Hi, this is Zeddy. I hope you enjoy my daughter's podcast. Is that okay?
Today's supporter shout out is from YouTube. David Miller 1055. Thank you for your service and care for those who need it. Blessings to you and all the caregivers in the world. Heart emoji, party hat emoji, and blushing cheeks emoji. You're very welcome, David. Very, very welcome. If you want to receive the supporter shout out, please review on Apple Podcast. Yes, on Apple Podcast. I don't care if you don't like Apple. If you all down with Android, I need you to go over to Apple Podcast and click, because that's where the people who give the money look. Also, Instagram and YouTube. We like the love from all the people. Thank you. Today's episode, successful caregiving without self-sacrifice. Parenting Up community, I don't even know why I deserve all the blessings and grace from the caregiver angels or divine nation. I don't even know what it is, but I keep getting guests that just level up, level up, level up. They know more stuff than I do. They've been through more than I've been through, and they can tell us stuff to help us make it one more day, one more hour, one more minute as a caregiver. And it has happened again. Welcome 2025. We have Karen Weaver. If Karen doesn't know it about caregiving, it hasn't happened. That's what that means. I've decided it. She might not agree with me, but who cares? It's my podcast. I can do what I want. Hey, Karen, how you doing, girl?
Doing great. I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity.
100%. Now, before we get into all of the juicy, juicy bits, I'm going to let them know that you view caregiving as a calling. Now, you're an author and you've done a whole lot of other fancy stuff, but as it relates to the Parenting Up podcast, you say, hey, some stuff is just a calling. You have cared for more people than I could count. You have cared for more people than some people have had wives that may or may not have been a president in the United States that I may or may not have voted for. But let's just say you count not only, your mother, your husband, your father, those are direct one-to-one relationships where you were the caregiver. But
Hmm.
even times where you have volunteered in hospitals and times where you've helped in your church or with your neighbors, you take this caregiving thing very seriously. And so for that, right up front, I want to say thank you. Thank you so very much.
Wow.
Now, you've cared for a husband with a disability who was disabled in a wheelchair, your father with Alzheimer's, your mom was also sick. You tell me which one you would prefer to start with. I don't want to just do it in chronological order because maybe
Right.
one meant more to you or one touched you in, and I don't mean more from a loving standpoint, but as a
Right.
caregiver, one may have resonated more. And I
Hmm.
want to make sure that the parenting up community gets all the juicy bits that you have to.
Okay. Well, I definitely would want to start with my husband. I mean, that was probably the biggest caregiving project of my journey. My husband had a massive stroke at 39, and that completely disrupted my way of life and what was normal for me. So I would definitely say that was the most impactful um, caregiving assignment that I had throughout my life. Because really, I was taking care of my husband for like 27 years, and he he not only had a stroke, but which caused him not to be able to work, not to be able to drive. But then a few years later, he lost kidney function, and my oldest son gave him a kidney, and then he lost kidney function again, and he was able to survive dialysis for about 4 years before he passed away. So it was very heartfelt for sure.
I can't even add 39 and 27. And my first degree is in engineering. It sounds like forever. That's what 39 plus 27 sounds like. Long time, a lot of love, and a lot of long time. One of the things that stood out to me that kind of connects our journey, as you said, when your husband had the stroke, it was kind of the middle of the night. He was 29, excuse me, 39 years
Hmm.
old, and he had
Hmm.
come home from work. I went to Howard University. Shout out to the DMV. And so when you mentioned Safeway, I was like, oh, yeah, I know. I went to Safeway all the time, grocery store. But you said you heard a thump or a thud or a loud noise on the floor, and you thought he was playing around because he was a
Yes,
jokester.
he was a
That's
joke.
the same thing that happened with my mom.
Wow.
When she found my father, he had a massive heart attack, and she found him on the couch, and she thought that he was playing.
Being a
I
joke.
don't know if anybody out there is listening who could do a
Yeah.
study on the number of times that an African American man
Mm.
who is known to be a clown may
Hmm.
be in some type of medical distress, but his wife or children are like, "Get up here, fool!" My mom told me this was before her Alzheimer's kicked in. She said she looked at him and she said, "Boy, boy," and she kind of hit him with a, I don't know, with a hand or elbow or something, and said, "If you
Right.
don't stop playing, Jock Smith, I know something." And
Yes.
when he didn't move,
Yes.
she knew it was
Absolutely.
something to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I remember going to that side of the bed and I was like, come on now, it's too late to be playing around. You just got home, you got to go back to work, and he was literally trying to lift himself up. But every time he tried to lift himself up, he would go back down. And when he wasn't able to speak, then I figured, oh no, something's going on. Something's wrong. I need to call for help. This is not normal. So, and at that time, I didn't have as much awareness about what it meant when somebody had a stroke and the signs and things like that. I mean, now I would be able to identify it probably almost immediately if I saw someone in that type of distress. So, but
But what would
yes.
what would if some, most of our listeners are in the dementia um community. However, my mom, after maybe 11 years with dementia, she had a stroke. So
Mm.
it's not to say that all of these ailments and diseases don't decide to play footsies with one another. What would you say are those signs that you now know so well that means a stroke is coming?
Well, when you see someone and they sort of, one side of their face sort of goes limp,
Hmm.
um, and when they can't use like one of their hands, or they have difficulty walking, because usually the strokes actually attacks one side or the other side of the body, and that really has to do with where it is in the brain. So that's probably the most, can't speak, starting to mumble words, can't really get out of thought that has any type of um, coherency. So yeah, I definitely think I would be able to notice that if I was in that situation. And yeah, unfortunately, well, my dad had Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, though, he never experienced any of those, what I call the vascular type of diseases on top of that. But that was a whole nother journey in itself. And, you know, the funniest story I remember about my dad was going to his house, and there was a frying pan in the backyard. And I said, Dad, why is the frying pan in the backyard? He says, I don't know. I don't know how it got there. I don't, I didn't put it there. And
Somebody's cooking grass.
so
My
I said,
grandfather called marijuana grass. I was like, what, how do you know how to call it grass unless you've been using it?
it was amazing. And when I went out there, and the frying pan was obviously had been on fire. And we are so fortunate that he didn't catch the house on fire while he was trying to go from the kitchen to the back door to throw the frying pan out the back door. So, and it still took me a while to kind of figure out, there's something wrong with my father. So eventually I told him he couldn't live at his house. He had to come live at my house, because I didn't think it was safe for him to actually be in his house. But those were some funny times for sure. Just
So,
watching somebody with having memory issues.
so if I'm tracking this, just to make sure that everyone listening and watching now, and for everyone in the parenting up community, all of this is very carefully and warmly described in the book. I don't want to give too much of it away. The book is entitled Reaching Up for Comfort: Caregiver Experiences, Questions, and Prayers. So, for those of you who um, definitely lean into a Christian based lifestyle,
Mm,
Karen has added Bible verses that have helped her along the way with certain very specific questions,
yeah,
experiences, and challenges. And she has reflections and questions for you, things that she thought helped her through when hindsight gave her the vantage point of like, I don't know what the hell actually did help me get through this. But a unique thing is that your father came to live with you after your husband had
yeah,
the stroke, and
yeah,
you glossed over that so smooth, like a little pat of butter. You like, so I
yeah,
asked my dad to come live with me, and you are not acknowledging, sister girl, that your husband had already experienced his medical event with the stroke
mm,
that left him bound in a wheelchair, because some people recover from a stroke and are able to walk again.
mm,
Now, others lose their life. So, there are many layers to this thing. So, your father moved in with you. So, then you're caring for two in your home: a
mm-hmm.
dementia sufferer and then a stroke survivor who's wheelchair bound.
Right.
I don't even know where you want to start, honey. You can
Well,
say,
well, my husband, he wasn't always wheelchair bound though.
okay.
There were some periods of time where he was walking, and that was probably, I don't know if it was good or bad because he would drive the car half paralyzed. So he would do a lot of things that you shouldn't do if you don't have the use of the right side of your body. He would still try to cut the grass. Um, but when he
Wait,
lost,
I'm sorry. You said cut the grass.
he would, yes.
So was the grass zigzag like a zebra? How did the grass look? It's I'm a
I'm gonna tell
chameleon, but
you
if
that
you don't
grass.
have but one side of your body and you cutting the grass,
My husband could cut the grass, and he really, I mean, he did it. I mean, the
did the
neighbors,
grass look
the
okay? Did
grass,
the grass have stripes in it?
no, the
Okay,
grass looked good, Jay.
okay, okay.
I'm telling you, he was an amazing person. He really could cut the grass. And so for the time that he could do what he could do, he really did it. I mean, he tried shoveling snow, he tried all kinds of things. And it was just crazy for a while, especially when I was trying to work. And then I would come home and he would say, I drove to my mother's house. And I'm like, you drove with the car to your mother's house? Like, you don't have any car insurance, you don't have a license. I mean, this could be an issue. So that was always a challenge with him because he never wanted to give up. And when I moved my dad in, my husband actually had gone back to dialysis. So that was why it was so trying because we were dealing with the dialysis schedule, and then I was working with what was going on with my dad and his memory care issues, and then my dad ended up also having prostate cancer. So um, yeah,
No,
some
wait,
days.
Karen. You can't say so. Yeah. Hold on, hold on. Now, when your father
Hmm.
moved in, your husband was was he still sometimes driving and
No,
walking? No.
no, he wasn't trying to drive by that time. By that time that was only early on in the game. He was trying to drive. So by the time my dad moved in, my husband had slowed down quite a bit. He was still able to walk sometimes with the cane.
Mhm.
Then there was some days he definitely had to do the wheelchair, and so we just had to navigate the wheelchair. I usually had a wheelchair down on the bottom floor. I had a stair lift to go to the top floor. Then I had a wheelchair at the top floor, to help navigate upstairs. So, um, yeah,
You
it
had the
was
chairlift on on the on the
stairs.
stairwell.
Hmm.
Now, which brand worked for you? I have heard horror stories about those chairlifts. Do you
Really?
have a manufacturer that you can suggest?
Oh, well, the company was called Stairlift, and
Okay.
I had a very good experience with them because I had had a chair lift also installed in my parents' house.
Okay.
So, and anytime I had difficulty with it not working or something, they were very prompt in coming out, and I had a great experience with the whole
I
stair
told
lift.
y'all, Parents of the Family, I told y'all she knew everything. I told y'all if Karen doesn't know it, then it hadn't happened. So you have a wheelchair on the first level, and then a chair, climber, lifter thingy, and a wheelchair upstairs. So that's what you call efficiency and redundancy, people. Okay. Which what you didn't hear Karen say is that she carried a wheelchair upstairs every day or
No,
every night. Okay.
no,
So
no.
you have to figure out how to find, utilize your medical insurance or various hospitals or nonprofits to get the resources you need so that you can have the things that are required in your home. So your father moves in.
Hmm.
How much did he fight you?
Well, we tricked them. So
Oh, this is good.
so he favored my brother. So I used my brother to trick my father. So told my dad that if he would come to my house, that my brother was going to come pick him up and take him golfing. So my brother came, took my father golfing, and while they were golfing, I went and got everything else I needed to bring down to my dad's house. I had been bringing stuff down periodically, so I had been preparing his room. And when he came back from golfing, he said, "Well, I need to go home and take a shower." And I said, "Well, no, you can take a shower here." He said, "But I don't have any clothes." I said, "You know what? I have clothes upstairs. I got all your clothes upstairs. I had the clothes in the drawer. I had the clothes in the closet. I had everything he needed." And so he took a shower and he talked about it for a couple of days, but then he just kind of settled in.
He just eased into it.
He eased into it. My father was a very quiet person.
Okay.
So he wasn't aggressive type of person. He was very passive, which was to my advantage. Because if he got upset, there was something really, 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 really bad going on. But for the most part, it was a pretty easy transition. I did kind of suffer a little bit because I got rid of his furniture out of his house too fast. And he said to me, "I want my bed from my house," and I had already given it away. So I felt a little bad about that. So I said, "You know what, Dad? I think we're going to get you a new bed, a brand new bed." And so that was the way I kind of got through that little time period.
I read that in your book, and I laughed and I scratched my head and I held my heart because I know that conundrum, right? You're trying as a caregiver, you're trying to move on. You have, all of a sudden plopped onto your lap all these extra responsibilities, and you're trying to move on to handle what feels to be the most pressing and the highest priority, which is everyone's living life. Like, what do we gotta do? Right? We gotta eat, we gotta take medicine, we gotta exercise, we gotta go to bed, we gotta take a shower. And so then when you start thinking about mementos and memories and sentimental things, that doesn't always come to pass. But I saw in one of your chapters, you made, I don't want to give too much away, but it was one of the ones that I highlighted, and you mentioned something, and I paraphrased something like, "Be careful. I mean, think about what you're saving, or what you're doing like that." And did you tell your father that you gave the bed away, or did you just say, "Hey, let's get a new bed"?
Hey, what's up, Parenting Up family? Guess what? Have you ever wanted to connect with other caregivers? You want to see more behind the scenes footage? Want to know what me and Zeddy are doing? I know you do. All things J Smiles are finally ready for you. Even when I go live. Do it now with us on Patreon. Join us in the Patreon community. Catch everything we're doing. Visit patreon.com/J Smiles Studios with an S.
No, I didn't tell him.
I
I
love
know.
that.
I didn't tell him. I just said,
I love
"I'm going to get you a better bed. I'm going to get you a brand new bed."
I call it the lie of love. And it
Yes.
seems like you and I have been friends for longer than we knew, because you've been lying too. I've been lying. I've been lying to my mama so much. Actually, lying to my mama for her Alzheimer's informs my improv and my comedy a great deal,
Mm,
because I get I get used to making up so many stories for her that
yes.
I'm able to create all kind of stories when it's time to make a joke for the stage. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I could just add the end of that one and tag on that. Oh, you know what? That sounds good."
And it's not really a lie.
Karen,
it's,
Karen,
it's really sort of
Karen.
like
It's a
a,
lie, Karen. It's okay though.
a story to help the situation that you find yourself in.
That sounds like my grandfather. My grandfather would say, "Jay, it ain't always feasible to tell the truth."
That's a good way to put it. That's
And
absolutely.
because when he said if it's not feasible to tell the truth, then it's not really a lie. And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I don't really know about that." But in any case, I agree with you, and I do it the same thing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do it, and it is quite useful. Your father also endured prostate cancer
yeah,
after. after his Alzheimer's diagnosis. I just need
Yeah.
everybody who is listening and or viewing this podcast
Mhm.
episode to understand the layering of things that Karen has experienced in her caregiving journey. All right, so Pops gets the diagnosis. Does he even understand the diagnosis?
Um, Not totally, but in his mind, he used to say, when you go to the doctors, they never say anything good. But so that was
Okay.
his answer for everything. But certainly, I don't think he fully understood it. But actually, that is what actually um, caused him to actually transition, was really more the cancer than it was the Alzheimer's for sure. So
What you did choose to have a operation, a
yes.
prostate cancer operation, and um I know that many caregivers of a loved one with dementia struggle with
Mm-hmm.
when to operate, when to not operate. So,
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that you're comfortable, please let us in on what made you say, okay, you know what? I know dad has Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know he is what medically may be called a senior, but I
Mm-hmm.
think we're going to operate for these reasons.
Yeah, and I think so. The operation was more centered around, they identified that something was wrong, that his PSA was too high, and they were really just doing a procedure just to see, if he was okay. So it actually turned into an operation because after they went in there, they realized that he had prostate cancer, and the it was the tumors were actually extending beyond his prostate, so it had started to grow into other areas. And so my brother and I were sort of faced with making a decision, like real time. You know, do you want us to operate and remove the tumors since we're already there? And we decided together that we would do that. So, and the whole Alzheimer's and prostate, the timing of it was so missed in that, we were trying to finalize his diagnosis and he was having physical things going on. So it wasn't really a clean cut thing where we absolutely knew he had Alzheimer's at the time he was dealing with the whole prostate issue.
Understood. How old was he
Oh my
when this was
goodness.
happening?
So my dad, he passed when he was 92. So he was about 88. Yeah,
Mm,
at the time. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
Your husband is physically not on earth anymore as well.
yes, that's correct.
And how how can I put this? Many caregivers speak on the void after you've been a caregiver, and it's been
Hmm.
such a all encompassing part of your life, your daily life.
Hmm.
And while it may be a grind and it may be a ton of sacrificing, it
Right.
becomes a major part of who you are. And for
Absolutely.
you, you had decades of it with um, two of your guys.
Hmm.
I know you have children, but that's your husband and your dad. I mean, that's pretty up there.
Yeah.
How have you managed, or what did you do to manage? Okay, they are now with the Heavenly Father,
Yes.
and I'm going to not give up on myself. I'm going to do fill in the blank.
That's so. I think one thing as a caregiver, I still never really lost sight of myself.
Okay, hold on now, Karen. You can't just throw that out there. That's
Okay.
bells and whistles. Here's my own version of crowd noise. That's the Jay. That's the Jay Smiles, and they're cheering for Karen. The fact that you could not lose sight of yourself under those circumstances for that duration of time.
Yeah,
Bless me.
I had to. I had to make that decision. I worked up until I really kind of just said, okay, two people is a lot. I can't do this anymore. But at one point, I was working and I was serving in a church and I was coaching and, I was supporting my children. But I was always like
Did you sleep
mindful.
during
Well,
that time?
I did sleep as much as I could. I probably didn't do as well as I do now, but I was really into exercise and health.
What was your exercise zine to
I,
style? What did you
I,
like?
I like to do treadmill, ride the bike, do some weights. Um, I realized at some point that I didn't want to like wish this season away, wish it away. I had to figure out how to live in spite of what was going on. And so I just, kept busy and always was thinking and always was working things. So when my dad and my husband transitioned, my neighbors were sort of like, so what are you going to do now? And I was like, I'm going to move. I'm going to keep working my coaching practice. They were like, you're going to do that like just like that? And I'm like, well, my husband and I were talking about moving before he transitioned, but I really um, always had dreams and things I wanted to do. And so I think taking care of yourself is just like such a huge piece of caregiving. And I know caregivers get tired of hearing it. People saying to them, you have to learn self care. You have to learn self care. And people usually say, well, who has time for self care? I mean, it sounds like a luxury. And it does sound like a luxury, but that 10 minutes doing some exercise for yourself or half an hour doing something for yourself or I planned a trip one year and had a caregiver come in and take care of my dad and my husband, and I went to California to a conference. It was the best thing I could do to help my mental health because the better shape I was in, the better I could take care of them because they got 110% all the time.
I know
So
that's right.
giving myself 90% when I had the time to was not a luxury. It was just something that needed to be done. And I think that's the only way that you can really, really serve other people is if you learn how to take time for yourself.
Did you find that the the self-care tools and activities remain the same as before you became a caregiver, or did you like stumble into a new set of hobbies and habits? You mentioned like working out and things of that nature. Had you always liked those types of activities?
Yeah, I had always, but I think I was much more intentional when I was a caregiver because I had to be mindful of um, my time, how much time I had. I mean, sometimes it took, I had to get up earlier in the morning if I had something I wanted to do for myself. Um, and then it was during that time that I was having some health issues, which caused me to have to be a vegetarian. And so that added a whole nother layer of thought process onto what I was used to. Um, but I was always pretty good about exercising, but became more intentional, certainly as a caregiver. And now I am just a health, a health
I ain't
freak.
let you get away with that, Karen. Let me tell you something. I'm not about to let you get away with. You said I had a health something or another that forced me to be a vegetarian. No, ma'am, I'm not letting you get away with that. Here you go again, sliding some in, all up under the car to home base, trying to act like something ain't a big deal. I'm about to be sick of you, Karen, with you glossing over your greatness. Okay?
So
Do you know how many people have come across a medical condition Well, becoming vegan could greatly assist them, and they
Hmm.
haven't even been vegan for an hour. Okay, they didn't even become vegetarian. They
Right.
didn't become uh non-meatitarian or just seafooditarian for a day. And
Right.
you just said it as if
It was no big deal.
it was no big deal,
Yeah.
and it's the only other option you had, and, no, ma'am. So, what I want to first of all say is, there you go again, bravo and congratulations, and I want to ask, have you always been this way, where there is a problem, you're faced with a problem, or some may say a stumbling block,
Hmm.
and you look at that thing and you say, "It's me or you, and damn it, it ain't gonna be me." And you about to just run straight through this thing, regardless of what it is. Is that just your personality? Have you always been that way?
I've always been that way.
Okay.
So
When were you born? What's your sign?
I was born in January. I'm
Ah, are you a Capricorn?
Aquarian.
Well, that's close. Yeah. Yep.
I've always been that way. Like, okay, just bring it on.
Just bring it on. Like, here it is, and
Here
let's
it
just
is.
go.
What do we got to do?
I
That's
ain't gonna lose.
I ain't gonna lose,
I
right?
ain't gonna lose.
That's true.
I see it. There's a
That's
whole lot of I ain't gonna, because you say stuff
true.
just like you just took another sip of oxygen. I'm like, girl,
Well,
I haven't heard one bit of pity or one bit of I was mad with somebody. Were you ever mad with anybody?
well, I think I was mad when I wrote my book. I
Okay.
think my book was like therapy. I think
Okay.
my book was like my therapy. But I mean, I have a strong faith, so that of course was, the center, the focus of my life in getting me through.
Yeah.
But with my health issue, I have always had one kidney. And
You
as
were born with one kidney?
I was born with two kidneys,
Okay.
but my second kidney never grew. They called it infantile. And so it was taken out when I was in junior high school, about 12 or 13. And so as I got older, um, my kidney function wasn't what you would want it to be. And the nephrologist said to me, the best thing you can do for yourself is to stop eating meat. And I said, okay. And she said, just like that?
That's what I'm saying.
Man,
Okay,
you're
I'm
not gonna
with the
fight me.
nephrologist.
You're
Listen,
not you're not gonna fight me. You're not gonna ask
yeah,
me.
I'm with Nefertiti over there. Your doctor, your Nefert. Yeah, listen, Karen, you're weird.
Oh,
You, Karen Weird Weaver. That's what.
you think that's it? Well, she thought it was a little weird too. She said, "You are a wonderful patient." She said, "I wish I could just get my patients to just listen to me." She said, "You just said okay, just like that." I said, "I got it. Just tell me what I can't do,
That's
and
amazing.
I'm good."
That is amazing, and I am grateful to have you share these bits and pieces, these small bits and pieces of your journey. Like, we didn't even get to talk about your mom. You're gonna have to come back to talk about your mom.
Okay, I
Be-
can come back and talk
because
about.
we can't. I don't know. I'm gonna talk to the producer. We got to figure out when you come back talk about your mom, because I don't want to squeeze the mama in at the. Like, oh, we got to just a few minutes. No, no, no. Mama's gonna get her own episode. That's how we gonna do this.
Oh, I love it. I
I
love
just decided.
it.
That's
Oh,
how I feel about mamas anyway. Why not? I mean, hell, we girls, we can do
yes,
what we want to.
absolutely.
So, um, your perspective is so needed in the world, period, around whether it's caregiving or just how to manage when things don't quite go
Mm,
as smoothly as you would like. It could be your health, a loved one's
yeah.
health, a job, a relationship, your finances. But as my best friend's mom tells us often, okay, so that has happened. What are you going to do now?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do now? You're here right now, boo boo. What you going to do now?
Mm-hmm.
And you have lived a life of, this is what I'm going to do now. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you have been transparent and you have shared. I'm going to show everyone the book, Reaching Up for Comfort. But I want you to tell everyone where they can get the book, where they can reach you for any consulting and advisory services.
Okay. Well, you can get the book on Amazon for sure. Amazon has everything. And you can go to my website, which is www.crosswalkcoachingandconsulting.com. So those are two places you can reach me easily. I'm getting ready to have a 5-day challenge come up for the health area, and that's under crosswalkcoaching.com. And so that page is up, but it'll go live soon, but you'll be able to see the 5-day challenge coming. But I look forward to hearing from some of you, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Phenomenal. One last question. We
Yes.
ask this of all of our guests. We end with a segment that I affectionately call the snuggle up, where if as a caregiver you could just go ahead and
Mhm.
snuggle up to this really hard concept, your life as a caregiver will be easier. What would you say is one snuggle up that you would suggest to others, or that you can say really helped you in your journey?
I think the best thing that helped me on my journey was just to remember that caregiving is only for a season. So if you take care of yourself, you will make it through your season. And I'm not talking about just surviving, I'm talking about thriving in your season.
Yes. Oh, I got drilled. Do y'all see that? Seriously, can you see it? Okay. I'm not even playing. I know I do exaggerate a lot. I'm a caregiver. I mean, hell, I'm a comedian. Well, you know what? Actually, I do exaggerate as a caregiver too. I was just lying to my mama yesterday. But anyway, uh, that is right. To not just be alive, but to thrive.
Mhm.
Thank you so very much, Karen. I
Thank
told
you.
y'all. Did you know everything? And she know way more than that. We gonna have her back. Until then, you take care of yourself.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
The snuggle ups. Number one. What is your default personality? Are you assertive? Are you a wallflower? Are you active? Are you a couch potato? Meaning, before you became a caregiver, when life is not stressing you, when people leave you the F alone, who are you? I am strongly encouraging you that now, even as a caregiver, with all this extra crap on your plate, lean back into your default personality as hard as you can. Be as true to that person as you can. Because when you don't, you're way more likely to feel the bubbling and the gurgling of resentment. Mm-hmm. Look how Karen flourished because she figured out small ways, 5 minutes here, 30 minutes there, to keep physical exercise in her life. Not because pundits and doctors told her to, because that was always a way that she kept herself freaking happy. So figure yours out. Remember who you are. Show them who you are. Shout out Black Panther. Y'all know I was an addict. Number two. Y'all, please remember this. Caregiving is but a season. For some of us, it's a season that's 6 months. For others, it's 3 decades. But those 3 decades happen to be part-time because you're popping in and out of helping family members or neighbors. Don't woe is me. Don't do it. It's not worth it. The time that you spend worrying and licking your wounds, you could be taking a nap or eating some ice cream or getting on with the goal that you would have been doing in life if you weren't a caregiver. You feel what I'm saying? We don't have time to be over here talking about what if. What if my ass? What if my ass? Number 3, if you were not a family caregiver, for a moment, I want you to go into the recesses of your mind and think about it. What would you be doing with all that free time, money, and worry? What is it? Write it down. I need you to write down at least 3 things. And within the next 90 days, give yourself a little bit of one of them. Jace Mouth, what the hell are you talking about? I can't do any of that because I'm a caregiver. Well, let's say maybe you thought you wanted to write a book or you wanted to open up an ice cream store. Over the next 90 days, you know what you could do? You could at least learn how to make ice cream. Everything is a how-to on the internet now. You can figure out something that allows you to feel a little closer to you. That's the spirit of Karen Weaver. Let's all take a little nudge from the way she chose to be a caregiver.